Princess Diana was more than just a royal figure. She was an icon, adored worldwide for her grace, compassion, and charitable work. Known as the People's Princess, Diana captured the hearts of millions, not only because of her royal status, but because of her genuine empathy for those in need. Her life, full of both triumph and heartache, was one that fascinated the public at every turn. However, it was the shocking and tragic events surrounding her untimely death in 1997 that would forever alter the course of history, leaving the world in mourning and raising countless questions about the true cause of her demise. On the evening of August 31st, 1997, Diana's life was cut short in a car accident in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris, a moment that remains etched in the memories of those who witnessed it unfold in real time on their television screens. Despite the overwhelming grief that followed her death, many unanswered questions lingered, from the circumstances of the crash to the theories that emerged in its wake. What truly happened that night? Was it an unfortunate accident, or was there more to the story than we were led to believe? As we delve deeper into the tragic end of Princess Diana's life, we'll explore the details of the crash, the official investigations, and the many conspiracy theories that still surround her death to this day. Before we continue, take a moment to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give us a like. We'd love to know where you're watching from, so drop a comment and tell us what country you're tuning in from. Princess Diana's story began long before her tragic death, and her legacy was shaped by a life that captivated the world long before the events of that fateful night in Paris. Diana Frances Spencer was born on July 1st, 1961, into an aristocratic family with strong ties to the British royal family. Though she grew up in a privileged environment, her early life was marked by personal challenges, including her parents' tumultuous divorce. Despite these struggles, Diana's charm, poise, and genuine warmth helped her quickly rise to international prominence when she married Prince Charles in 1981. Their wedding was broadcast globally, watched by millions, and Diana became known as the Princess of Wales. For years, she was seen as a beacon of beauty and elegance, a real-life fairy tale. But behind the facade of royal life, Diana faced significant personal issues. Her marriage to Prince Charles was far from the perfect union the public had imagined. As the years went on, their relationship became increasingly strained, with rumors of infidelity and unhappiness. The pressures of public life, coupled with the intense scrutiny of the media, took a toll on Diana's mental health. Despite the challenges in her personal life, Diana emerged as a passionate advocate for humanitarian causes. She worked tirelessly for various charities, particularly those focused on children, HIV/AIDS awareness, and the banishment of landmines. Her dedication to making a difference, coupled with her effortless ability to connect with people, made her beloved by millions across the globe. Diana's fame was also fueled by her status as a fashion icon, gracing the covers of magazines and being photographed in the most stunning outfits. However, by the mid-1990s, Diana's life had taken a dramatic turn. In 1992, she and Prince Charles officially separated after years of public tension, culminating in their divorce in 1996. This marked the end of her role as the consort of the heir to the British throne, but not the end of her public influence. Diana was now free to live life on her terms, and she did so with a renewed sense of independence. During this period, Diana's relationship with Egyptian billionaire Dodi Al-Fayed became a subject of constant media attention. Their appearances together raised many questions, and their rumored romance was heavily scrutinized. The public's fascination with Diana only intensified during this period. The media followed her every move, turning her personal life into the latest tabloid sensation. But this relentless pursuit would have tragic consequences. Diana's increasing fame, combined with her connection to a wealthy businessman, made her a prime target for paparazzi, who were ever eager to capture images of the world's most talked-about woman. On the night of August 31st, 1997, Diana's life came to a sudden, tragic end. The events leading up to that moment were influenced by a series of factors, most notably the presence of the paparazzi, who had long been a fixture in her life. As Diana and her companion, Dodi Al-Fayed, left the Ritz Hotel in Paris, they were followed by a throng of photographers intent on capturing images of the famous couple. The atmosphere was tense, as Diana, feeling overwhelmed by the constant media attention, was eager to escape from the chaos surrounding her. The couple had spent the evening dining at the Ritz, where Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, was the owner. As they left the hotel, they were accompanied by their bodyguard, Trevor Rhys-Jones, and Henry Paul, the driver. Henry Paul, a security officer employed by the Ritz, was behind the wheel of the Mercedes S280 that would soon be involved in the fatal crash. In the moments before the crash, the car was being pursued by several motorcycles and paparazzi vehicles. Witnesses reported that the paparazzi were trying to capture the best shot of the couple, following them closely and creating a dangerous environment. As Henry Paul navigated through the streets of Paris, the car was reportedly traveling at an alarmingly high speed, attempting to outrun the photographers. According to various reports, the speedometer of the car was found to be at an estimated 121 mph, about 194 km/h, at the time of the crash. For context, the speed limit in that area was 30 mph, about 48 km/h, making it clear that the car was traveling far too fast for the conditions. The pursuit was frantic, but it was the car's sudden loss of control that led to the fatal accident. The car, speeding through the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, collided with a pillar in the center of the tunnel, which caused it to spiral into a violent crash. The impact was devastating. The force of the crash caused severe damage to the vehicle and injured all of the passengers inside. Diana, who was seated in the back of the car next to Dodi, was critically injured in the accident. Dodi Al-Fayed, who was also severely wounded, was pronounced dead at the scene. Henry Paul, the driver, was killed instantly, while Trevor Rhys-Jones, the bodyguard, was the only survivor of the crash, though he suffered life-threatening injuries. Despite the severity of Diana's injuries, efforts to save her life were immediate. Paramedics arrived at the scene within minutes, but the extent of the damage was too great. Diana was taken to the Pitié-Salpêtrière hospital in Paris, where doctors worked frantically to stabilize her. Despite their best efforts, Diana succumbed to her injuries a few hours later, at approximately 4 a.m. local time. The news of her death was announced to the world later that morning, and the world was plunged into mourning. The crash left the world in shock, and within hours, the streets of Paris were filled with flowers, candles, and messages of condolence for Diana. Fans, strangers, and dignitaries alike gathered to honor the life of the Princess of Wales. The tragic loss of such a beloved figure created an outpouring of grief from across the globe, but it also set the stage for countless questions. What truly caused the crash? Was it simply an unfortunate accident, or were there other factors at play? In the days and weeks that followed, several key questions began to surface. The role of Henry Paul, the driver, became a focal point. Authorities soon revealed that Paul had a significant amount of alcohol in his system at the time of the crash. Blood tests confirmed that he was 3 times over the legal alcohol limit, which raised doubts about his ability to drive safely. This fact was pivotal in shaping the initial investigations into the accident. The paparazzi also came under intense scrutiny. Some believed that their aggressive pursuit of Diana and Dodi had contributed to the crash, pushing the car to higher speeds in an effort to escape the photographers. The press had relentlessly followed Diana, often putting her in dangerous situations, and this time, their presence was undeniably linked to the events leading up to the crash. But despite these early revelations, many were unsatisfied with the official narrative of the accident. Questions about whether there was more to the story began to emerge almost immediately. The combination of Henry Paul's intoxication, the high speed, and the constant presence of the paparazzi created a perfect storm of circumstances. But was that all there was to it? Did the paparazzi's pursuit of Diana play a more significant role in her death than initially suggested? And were there any other underlying factors that could have contributed to the tragedy? The questions surrounding the crash would soon lead to a series of investigations, and a search for answers would continue for years to come. As the world mourned the loss of Princess Diana, the quest for truth about her death had only just begun. In the wake of Princess Diana's tragic death, both the French and British authorities were quick to launch investigations into the circumstances surrounding the crash. The initial inquiry was conducted by French authorities who worked to determine what led to the fatal collision. The findings of the investigation were clear. The crash had been caused by a combination of factors, including the high speed at which the car was traveling and the fact that the driver, Henri Paul, had alcohol in his system at the time of the crash. The French police quickly concluded that the cause of the crash was an accident. They determined that the vehicle was traveling at an excessive speed, far beyond the legal limits of the road, and that Henri Paul had been intoxicated. Blood tests performed on Paul revealed that he had a blood alcohol level of 1.75 grams per litre, which was more than 3 times the legal limit in France. The combination of alcohol and speed was cited as the primary cause of the accident. The investigation also found that the car's tyres were in poor condition, further contributing to the vehicle's inability to maintain control. However, despite the official conclusion, many questioned the thoroughness of the French investigation. Some felt that the authorities had rushed to conclusions and failed to explore other potential contributing factors, such as the role of the paparazzi. The relentless pursuit of Diana and Dodi by photographers on motorcycles in the moments leading up to the crash was seen by many as a crucial piece of the puzzle. The argument that the paparazzi's actions could have pushed the driver to speed at dangerous levels gained traction, but it was not fully investigated by the French authorities. As a result, the British government initiated its own inquiry, known as the Operation Paget investigation, to re-examine the circumstances surrounding the crash. Led by the Metropolitan Police, Operation Paget aimed to address the doubts and suspicions that had emerged in the wake of the official findings. The British inquiry began in 2004 and sought to examine whether there were any overlooked factors or evidence that could shed light on the incident. The investigation was extensive and took several years to complete. In its final report released in 2008, Operation Paget reaffirmed much of the French findings, concluding that the crash was caused by the combination of Henri Paul's intoxication, the high speed of the vehicle, and the actions of the paparazzi. The report also found that there was no evidence of foul play or any intentional attempt to cause the crash. Despite the conspiracy theories that persisted, the British inquiry concluded that the events of that night were indeed an accident. One of the key elements of Operation Paget's investigation was its focus on the paparazzi. The inquiry examined the role of the photographers who had followed Diana and Dodi that night, and the impact their presence may have had on the events leading to the crash. Although the paparazzi were not directly responsible for the crash, their aggressive pursuit of the couple in the moments before the accident was deemed to have created a dangerous and stressful situation for Henri Paul, who may have been trying to evade the photographers at high speeds. While Operation Paget's conclusions were in line with the French investigation, they did not entirely dismiss the role that the media played in Diana's death. The inquiry found that the actions of the paparazzi were reckless and contributed to the conditions that led to the fatal crash. It also made recommendations for greater regulation of the paparazzi to prevent such incidents from happening in the future, though it was clear that the paparazzi's actions could not be solely blamed for the tragedy. Both investigations were largely focused on the factors surrounding the crash itself, leaving many questions unanswered about the events that led to the fatal night. Despite the official conclusions, the investigation into Diana's death did little to quell the suspicions and conspiracy theories that had begun to circulate. For many, the official narrative of an accident caused by a combination of alcohol, speed, and paparazzi pursuit still felt incomplete, and doubts about the true cause of her death continued to linger. The investigation's findings were far from conclusive in the eyes of some, who continued to believe that there were hidden motives or elements that had not been fully explored. The official reports may have put to rest many questions, but they did little to resolve the enduring mystery of why Diana, a woman who had captured the world's heart, had to die so suddenly and tragically. Princess Diana's death, despite the conclusions of the French and British investigations, has remained shrouded in mystery and intrigue. As the world mourned her tragic passing, a wave of conspiracy theories began to emerge, offering alternative explanations for what happened that fateful night in Paris. These theories have persisted for years, fueled by speculation, a sense of injustice, and an overwhelming desire to find a deeper truth. While the official narrative of an accident involving high speed, intoxication, and paparazzi pursuit remains the accepted version, many still question whether the official story is the whole truth. One of the most prominent theories suggests that Diana's death was not an accident, but a carefully orchestrated murder, orchestrated by forces within the British royal family or the establishment. The idea that Diana's life was taken because of her ongoing relationship with Dodi Al-Fayed, who was Muslim, and her potential to marry him, which would have caused a scandal for the royal family, quickly gained traction. This theory argues that Diana's death was not just a tragic event, but part of a deliberate plan to eliminate a perceived threat to the monarchy's image. The roots of this conspiracy theory were first laid out by Mohammed Al-Fayed, the father of Dodi, who publicly claimed that his son and Diana were murdered by the British royal family. Al-Fayed has long been outspoken about his belief that Diana's death was no accident. He contends that the crash was engineered by MI6, the British Secret Service, and that it was carried out under the orders of Prince Philip, Queen Elizabeth's husband, and other members of the royal family. According to Al-Fayed, the royals viewed Diana as a disruptive influence, who was undermining the monarchy's carefully crafted image, especially with her burgeoning relationship with Dodi. This theory gained further attention when Al-Fayed was outspoken about his belief that Diana's death was part of a larger, hidden agenda. His claims suggested that the royal family was deeply worried about Diana's increasing independence and the possibility that she might publicly criticize them. Some supporters of this theory argue that Diana had become too outspoken, especially on matters related to the royal family's behavior and the ongoing media frenzy surrounding her. As Diana's life with Prince Charles unraveled, she became a vocal critic of the royal establishment. This included her famous interview with the BBC's Martin Bashir in 1995, where she discussed her struggles with mental health, her marriage, and her doubts about the monarchy's future. Those who support the royal conspiracy theory often point to the timing of Diana's death as highly suspicious. It is argued that Diana was poised to marry Dodi Al-Fayed and potentially become the stepmother of his children, creating an international stir and possibly leading to public resentment toward the royal family. The notion that Diana's impending marriage to Dodi could have embarrassed the monarchy became a focal point for those questioning the circumstances surrounding her death. The idea that MI6, a government agency, might be involved in orchestrating such a tragic event has been widely debated. Some claim that the British intelligence services, tasked with protecting national security, had reason to prevent Diana from publicly undermining the royal family or from becoming an even more prominent figure than she already was. However, there is no credible evidence to support these claims, and the British authorities have firmly denied any involvement in the death of Princess Diana. Another conspiracy theory centers on the role of the paparazzi. While the official investigation concluded that the paparazzi were not directly responsible for the crash, many believe they played a more insidious role in Diana's death than initially suggested. Some theorists speculate that the photographers were not just following Diana and Dodi in an attempt to capture their images, but were deliberately trying to provoke a crash. According to this theory, the photographer's relentless pursuit was intended to drive the car into a high-speed chase, causing Henri Paul to lose control and crash into the tunnel. This theory builds on the idea that the paparazzi, motivated by financial incentives, were willing to go to extreme lengths to get the perfect photograph, even if it meant putting lives at risk. However, the idea that the paparazzi intentionally caused the crash remains unproven, and many of the photographers involved in the pursuit have publicly denied any responsibility for the accident. They have consistently argued that they were merely doing their jobs, trying to capture images of one of the most famous women in the world. Another theory gaining traction is that there was a cover-up surrounding the events of that night. Some believe that the French authorities may have concealed key details about the crash in order to protect the reputation of the royal family, Dodi's family, or even the French government. According to this theory, evidence was either tampered with or conveniently overlooked in order to avoid scandal. The fact that certain details, such as Henri Paul's toxicology report and the findings related to the car's maintenance, were not fully disclosed to the public, has given rise to suspicions of foul play. Despite the persistence of these conspiracy theories, there has been no definitive proof to back any of them. The official investigations, both in France and the UK, have concluded that Princess Diana's death was the result of a tragic accident, not a conspiracy. Operation Paget, the British inquiry into the circumstances surrounding her death, found no evidence of foul play and confirmed the conclusions of the French investigation. Yet the enduring belief in these theories speaks to a larger cultural fascination with the idea of hidden truths and secret agendas, especially when it comes to figures as high-profile as Princess Diana. For many, the conspiracy theories surrounding Diana's death are less about the specifics of what happened on that tragic night and more about a deeper sense of distrust in authority and the media. Diana was a figure who, for many, represented a rebellion against the confines of royal life and the expectations placed upon her. Her death, shrouded in mystery and surrounded by media frenzy, only reinforced the idea that there were forces at play beyond public understanding. In the years since her death, Princess Diana's legacy has lived on, but the questions about how she died have not gone away. The theories continue to circulate, fueled by a public thirst for answers and a desire for justice, both for Diana and for Dodi. While the truth may never be fully revealed to the satisfaction of every person, the legacy of Princess Diana and the ongoing discussions surrounding her death continue to shape the narrative of one of the most tragic events in modern royal history. Princess Diana's tragic death on that fateful night in 1997 left the world in mourning, but her legacy has lived on in countless ways long after the funeral procession had ended. She was more than just a princess. She was an icon, a philanthropist, a mother, and a symbol of compassion. Her impact on both the British monarchy and the global stage remains profound, and her life continues to inspire millions of people around the world. First and foremost, Diana's role as a mother has been a defining aspect of her legacy. She was deeply devoted to her two sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, and her relationship with them was central to her identity. Diana's parenting style, which was unconventional for someone of her royal status, endeared her to the public. She was often seen holding her children's hands, embracing them in public, and showing affection that was rare in the more formal world of the British royal family. She set an example for many parents, both within and outside of the royal family, by prioritizing the emotional well-being of her children. In the years following her death, both Prince William and Prince Harry have spoken openly about the impact their mother had on their lives, shaping their values and their perspectives on charity work and social justice. Prince William, in particular, has emphasized how his mother taught him to care for the vulnerable and to take an active role in humanitarian causes. Prince Harry, too, has continued his mother's work, particularly in areas of mental health, veterans' rights and youth empowerment, spearheading initiatives such as the Invictus Games and founding the mental health campaign Heads Together. Diana's influence can be seen in their efforts to break down stigmas, just as she did during her life. Diana's charitable work was another cornerstone of her legacy. She was one of the first members of the royal family to openly challenge public attitudes toward issues such as AIDS and landmines. In the 1980s and 1990s, Diana's public support for AIDS patients was groundbreaking. At a time when HIV/AIDS was widely misunderstood and feared, Diana famously shook hands with patients without gloves, challenging the stigma associated with the disease. This simple but powerful act of compassion helped humanize those who were suffering from the virus, bringing attention to their plight and forcing the public to confront their prejudices. In addition to her work with AIDS patients, Diana was a passionate advocate for landmine victims. In 1997, shortly before her death, she made a visit to Angola to see firsthand the devastating effects of landmines on civilians. Her appearance in a minefield, wearing a bulletproof vest, drew international attention to the issue, and her efforts played a significant role in the eventual signing of the Ottawa Treaty in 1997, which sought to ban the use of landmines worldwide. Diana also dedicated herself to causes related to homelessness, children's hospitals, and the disadvantaged in society. Her compassion knew no bounds, and her ability to connect with those in need, whether they were patients, orphans, or people suffering from poverty, was part of what made her so beloved. She didn't just support charities, she actively worked to create change, using her position and her fame to shine a light on issues that had been neglected or ignored by the wider public. The impact of Diana's charitable work continues to resonate today. The organizations she supported, such as the British Red Cross, Centrepoint, and the National AIDS Trust, continue to benefit from the attention she brought to them. And in the years since her death, many of her friends, including former charity workers and world leaders, have continued to advocate for the causes she championed, ensuring that her humanitarian spirit lives on. Moreover, Princess Diana's legacy can be seen in the way the public perceives the British royal family. Diana was often seen as an outsider, a woman who didn't quite fit the traditional mold of a royal consort. Her divorce from Prince Charles, her outspoken nature, and her personal struggles made her relatable to the public in a way that other members of the royal family had not been. Her ability to remain compassionate, despite her personal turmoil, humanized the monarchy, making it more accessible to ordinary people. Her death, while incredibly tragic, also marked a turning point for the British royal family. In the aftermath of her passing, the royal family faced an unprecedented outpouring of grief from the public. This forced the monarchy to re-evaluate its relationship with the people it served. Queen Elizabeth II, who had initially been criticized for her response to Diana's death, was eventually seen embracing her role in healing the nation's wounds. The royal family had to adapt to the shifting tides of public opinion, and Diana's influence played a part in that transformation. In the years since her death, Diana's story has become a symbol of both tragedy and resilience. The documentaries, books, and films made about her life and death ensure that her story is never forgotten. Her image, with her big blue eyes, gentle smile, and kind demeanor, remains an iconic representation of a woman who captured the world's heart. Diana's legacy is not just defined by her charitable work or the love she had for her children. It is also reflected in the cultural shifts she helped catalyze. Her openness about her struggles with mental health, her divorce, and her role within the royal family set a precedent for future generations of royals to be more transparent and authentic in their public lives. The royal family is no longer just a symbol of tradition. It has become a more relatable institution, due in no small part to Diana's influence.